Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Codex Reviews. My name is Tim the Terrible. This guy over here is Wes Rebel Scum. And today we have something pretty awesome that Wes recommended him and I check out. Wes, we're going to review Iceman numbers 1 through 4. That's right, from 1984. Here's the credits, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Show those covers real quick so that way people can see those. Yeah, that's wonderful. And if you think that is wild, right there, that one.
Yeah,
Wait until we get into this story because
that was a heck of a book.
this is a fever dream, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But let me go ahead and give you the credits, and then we're going to dive right into this. So, writing for this goes to J.M. DeMatteis. Artwork goes to Alan Kupperberg. Inks Mike Gustovich. Letters Janice Chang. And colors by Bob Sharon. So, this book takes place during a period when Bobby Drake is not with the X-Men. He is with the New Defenders at this time. So he's with the secondary team, right? But Angel and Beast are also on this team with him, along with other people like Moondrake and Valkyrie and things of that nature. Uh, so what's taking place here is he is going to visit his father, right? For like his
Well,
retirement.
yeah, his family, but yeah,
Yeah, his family.
mom
And
and
he goes,
dad and a couple cousins and things like
yeah,
that.
exactly, in this small Midwestern town and goes to visit them. Uh fights crime in this small town in this
Fights crime en route,
yeah, en route.
as you do, as you
Yep.
do.
And this police officer who is a total bigot towards mutants
Mhm.
uh throws all that stuff at him, and it kind of reinforces how mutants are perceived in the Marvel universe in the 616 and things like that. That being said, the day moves on. He bumps into this girl named Marge, who we'll talk more about in a little bit. Falls head over heels for her, but she is taken away super quick by her family. He goes to his and goes through the whole process of he's not good enough for his parents. His parents think that he is a disappointment, partially because he is talking about quitting school, doesn't want to be an accountant, and also because he is a mutant, and his parents are deeply ashamed of that. Through all that, moves on to going and running into Marge again. They hang out, they have a heart to heart, fall more deeply in love with each other over the course of a couple hours. But then all hell breaks loose, and these two beings, Light and the Idiot,
The idiot, yeah.
yeah, come and attack, and there's reasons for that. Bobby Drake doesn't know these reasons. All he knows is that they are after Marge, and he's doing everything he can to put a stop to that. Well, the Idiot and Light are unsuccessful. Bobby saves Marge, so he thinks, and his parents are completely mad and upset because
Mortified and yeah.
not only did he destroy the neighbor's house, but he let his dad down too because he is a dirty mutant. Uh, it goes on from there. Bobby discovers this little box, this contraption, looks kind of like a futuristic radio, and
Oh,
uses the.
what did they call that? They named it once in the comics, I can't remember now.
I
Oh,
have
well,
no
doesn't
idea.
matter.
Yeah, if you know, comment down below so that way Wes and I can save face with the guys later. Um,
Yeah.
but either way, he discovers this box. He's upstairs feeling sorry for himself in his bedroom, wondering why his parents hate him and why he hates his parents so much, having an existential crisis. And this box activates and sends him careening through time. Uh, into the 1940s, he meets his parents when they're younger. Another being from somewhere is coming for the box. This being, Kali, I think, or Karma,
Mhm.
something
Yep.
like that, thinks that the box belongs to Marge, which it does. But instead of Marge being there, who has since time traveled, I know it sounds confusing, but it'll all make sense, who has since
Sort of.
time traveled
Sort of all makes sense.
into the 1800s.
Yeah.
Bobby is in the 1940s. He meets his parents when they're younger, finds out that they're not such bad people after all. And this Kali creature, half machine, half creature, attacks and kills his dad. Bobby fades away into oblivion, where he meets said character and discovers all kinds of other things and goes through this acid trip of the next 3 issues, and I'll leave it there. Wes, we need to talk about this because I finished this a couple
Yeah.
hours ago. G
Yeah. Same here.
Go ahead.
Or yesterday, I
Uh,
should say.
yeah.
Uh, so, I brought this miniseries or this. I recommended this series to read because I had read it a long time ago, and I
This was
remember
one of the things that got you into comics, right?
one of the
Yeah.
things for sure. Iceman is one of my favorite X-Men characters, anyways. He's kind of low key, but
Mhm.
I've always really liked him. Maybe because he was just, I don't know, he was always just kind of he wasn't the best at everything, and he was just good enough, and a lot of times he was his own worst enemy and
Yeah.
things like that. So I guess I kind of related to it in a way, but in really, I thought his powers were cool, things like that. But he was one of my favorites, so I gravitated towards that series years ago, and I remember liking it, but I couldn't really remember why. And so I was like, "Hey Tim, let's read this one. I think you'll like it." And so I pulled mine out of my stacks and we
Yeah.
reread it, and I remembered why I liked it. Um, a lot of these four, a lot of these, a lot of there were a lot of little limited series that came out in the 80s, for a lot of
Mhm.
different characters, and I've read a good amount of them, and a lot of them when you read them, you kind of wonder, why did they bother? Was this a story that really needed to be told? So this was not one of those. This was absolutely a story that needed to be told, I think. Um, this book, I think, in my opinion, really is a turning point for this character, Iceman. It really is.
Yeah.
From the character that from throwing snowballs to eventually becoming an Omega level mutant, this sent him on a trajectory of kind of being a lot more effective superhero, teammate,
Mhm.
person, m more power. It led down a road of becoming actually kind of a badass.
This series, as I was reading it, gave me more depth into the character of Bobby Drake than
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
ever knew before.
Yes.
And it
And yep.
it changed him from like I don't know a whole lot, but now I do, and it
Yeah.
changed him from kind of a basic X-Man to somebody that is rich in emotion and history
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
character and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I think and I don't wanna get ahead of ourselves, but I think towards the end of this series, he learns how to respect and love himself because he's
Mhm.
always been kinda self-demeaning and
Yeah.
he listens to what everybody, he always cared that, or he always listened to all the negativity and allowed that to affect him in his
Yeah.
entire career or in his existence.
Yeah.
In this little small 4-book series, he turns a corner and basically decides, you know what? I'm actually all right.
Yeah.
I know what I need to do now. I'm going to be the superhero that and teammate and son that I always knew I could be and I should be and I now will be.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest for me takeaway of the series. Yes, the story is cool and really awesome and all this other thing or all this other stuff, but for me, that really some odd obscure 4-issue thing, in 1984
Yeah.
was the turning point for this character, and I'm holding that, and that's
Now,
really cool.
This book was a bi-monthly too, guys, so it came out every 2 months. So what, 2, 4, 6, 8 over the course of 8 months, this series was
Yeah.
coming out.
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine reading this as a bi-monthly. I'm sure Gary has read it, and I know he'll have things to say about it, but waiting
Yeah.
every 2 months for something like this, that is
Yeah. People
bananas.
back then were probably having to reread the one they just read
Well, and that's the good thing
because
about
there's
it
a lot
too.
in it.
Yeah, and each issue was really good about recapping the previous
That's true.
issue in
That's true.
such a way that it
Yeah.
didn't feel unnecessary.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
All right. So Wes, let's get some grades out of the way here. How do you feel about artwork and writing, and then what's your overall for Iceman 1 through 4?
So I'm usually a really big fan of the 80s artwork because that's when
Mhm.
I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So, I'm really a big fan. As I was reading through this one, it did leave a little to be desired as far as internal artwork for sure.
Mhm.
Um, it wasn't bad, but it was just like there was parts that I would like, ooh, and that shows how hard it is to be an artist on the interior of a
Yep.
comic book, right? The difference between a cover artist and an interior book artist, and I
Yeah.
don't know if the cover artist did both. I think
Yeah,
he did,
Alan
but
Kupperberg was the artist for
okay.
the cover and the
So
interiors.
he did okay on the covers. They're not bad, they're classic '80s covers, so
Yeah.
that's fine. The interior art is where I have the issue. So I scored it at a 6.0.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I did. There was a lot of issues that I caught that like I would keep looking at it and go, "Ugh, gross," like, "Ugh." Especially a lot of times when he was drawing Marge or Mirage.
Do you think it's
Um,
because you're too used to modern art nowadays, or
I tried to take that into account. I don't think so. I did not
okay,
scale this based on that. At least I tried not to be biased.
okay,
I tried to base it on an '80s standard, an '80s or
gotcha.
'90s standard. I tried, but you know.
Okay.
So I gave it a 6.0. The writing, I gave it 9.0.
Wow, okay.
I really liked the story. There was no contradictions. There were no that I could see.
Mhm.
There was a good flow. Everything was described, and you really felt like, oh my gosh, this is happening to this guy.
Yeah,
Um,
you were
yeah,
incredibly invested in this
you
story
were,
as it
you
was
were,
going
and
on.
especially yes, and from the first book to the last book, the style was very similar, stayed the
Mhm.
same. There was a good continuity to it. So I
Yeah,
gave it a pretty good little score of a 9.0, and I can't say that a lot about a lot of modern comics.
right.
There was some cheesiness, like some '80s cheesiness, but
Yeah,
I accept that. So I guess overall, an average will be 7.5. Uh,
7.5 out
but I
of
think
10.
I think that's a misleading score because the writing itself really makes up for the interior art, which I
Mhm.
found a little corny and also, like, almost elementary at times,
Well,
especially Faces, you
I've
know?
noticed that with a lot of books, even on the podcast, doing reviews there, books that get in the sevens or higher, it's usually the artwork that kind of pulls it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think most of the people watching know us all well enough now that a 7.5 is an immensely great grade.
Yeah.
Like, you got to remember, guys, middle of the road. The book is neither good or bad as a 5. So we're
Yeah.
at a seven
Okay.
five, bordering on 8.
Okay. Then that yeah, okay, then that makes me feel a little better about
Yeah.
scoring it at 7.5, I try to get the 7.5s out of a CGC grade out of my head and say, "No,
Right.
we're not grading a comic book here,
Yeah.
we're talking about." Yeah, so, okay, cool, then I stick with my 7.5.
Nice.
Yeah, I could up it point 0.5 here or there, but it's definitely a recommended read for anybody who's watching this.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let me go ahead and dive into my stuff. So, first impressions. I had never read this before when you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's read this. And I sat down over 2 days to read this 4-issue miniseries. And my first impressions after I was done, well, like through the whole thing, like this was really, really good. Much better than I ever thought it could be, right? Like, I didn't go in with any preconceived notions of what it
Yeah.
should be, right? I went in totally blind, and this was better than it could.
Awesome.
Yeah, this was amazing. After
Good.
every issue I was done
You're
reading, I was
welcome.
thank you. After every issue I finished, I was like, "My God, this is really good, Wes. Where
Right,
did you
right.
find this series?" So let me break this down. So it is such an amazing
Yeah,
story, guys. J.M. DeMatteis did a wonderful job writing this. And when you said that there was consistency through the whole thing, that is absolutely correct. And I think it needs to be pointed out that the panel layouts really
they were.
played into that, because there were like 2 or 3 pages in the last issue where it was just split up into three the entire length of
Yep.
the page.
Mhm.
And there was one page where you had Marge in the background, and then what was happening to Bobby Drake with Oblivion in the foreground, but they had divided the panels in such a way that it was kind of a mixture of both scenes, and it was so awesome.
Mhm.
The like I just said, the story is extremely well crafted. This is way better than Marvel should have had in the 80s with Iceman.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, of
the
all
writing,
characters, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
this is fantastic. Some of the dialogue is a little dated,
for
but
sure.
this is one of the best stories that I have read in a while, and I can officially say that this
Mm.
is the best story I've read all year. And we're 9 days in.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. So this is going on the list, man. This is highly, highly recommended. I can't talk
Cool.
enough about it. Where you thought the artwork was a little lacking, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on that, but not in a
Okay.
bad way. I thought the artwork was fantastic. Not so much for the work that Alan Cooperberg did with people per se. I think he was more consistent with Bobby Drake and Oblivion,
Yeah.
the main bad guy, than he was with any of the other characters. But all of that background work, like the one scene, it was the opening scene in issue 4, where you just have all these faces going in a
Yeah. Yeah.
swirl, and it goes
Yeah.
like that, and then the palace that Oblivion had built for himself,
Yeah.
all these other things. It was amazing. And when I said earlier that this is like an acid trip fever dream, that is exactly what it feels like. And it all takes place on a Friday night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the book is a wild ride. It's like a fever dream with consequences. And there
Yeah.
were real consequences in this book.
Yeah.
Things that
Oh, yeah.
happened. Yeah, things that happened to his dad and things that happened to
To
Bobby
him.
specifically,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. And then at the end, when, like, to give you a little bit of context for that, Oblivion creates Marge, right? Uses a piece of himself to create something, so Oblivion is not filled with emptiness and
Yeah.
loneliness. Marge is that. Marge is his daughter, and a mixture of a bunch of other things. Um, Marge is doing her own thing. Mirage is
She
her.
wants to be her own entity, her own
Yeah.
person, and
She
and
she's
and Oblivion's not coal with that.
she's like a rebelling teenager.
Yeah.
She wants to go,
100%.
and yeah. And Oblivion tasks Bobby with bringing her back, and if he does, then the things that happened that had real consequences to Bobby's dad and to Bobby himself, Oblivion would fix.
Yeah.
Well, when all this takes place and Marge slash Mirage is brought back to Oblivion, Oblivion tries to uh, renegotiate
Yeah.
that
He walks
contract.
back a little. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, like, real consequences. You have to read the series. It's 4 issues,
Yeah.
guys, and it's great.
So we don't wanna
So
give any spoilers here, right?
right, exactly. We want to leave this up to you guys to check it out. And
Right.
when you do read this, I'm sure you can find these issues in the dollar bins
Oh, yeah.
or even in the back issues. If you have to go online and hunt for them, Do that too. This is a definite read. So my rating for this artwork, I give an 8 out of 10. The reason I give it an 8 out of 10 is because of all of that background work. That was just so impactful
Okay.
and so powerful to me, that it's going to be remembered for quite a while. And the consistency with Bobby Drake, even though it looked like he was fighting in boots and underwear the whole time.
I know. I know. Yeah.
That was kind of silly, but I get that, right? But yeah, 8 out of 10. The
These
writing,
whitey
however,
tidies.
yeah, the writing, however, J.M. DeMatteis, solid 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow, Timothy, you like this book. You
I
like this
did.
series. Wow.
I told you
Nice.
in
Hey, you
text
know what?
message.
Like I said, I can go up 9 to 9.5 on, I could go up point 0.5 on either one of those scores.
Hey,
So yeah,
this
we're
review's
we're
not
similar with
over
those with
yet,
the
so
writing.
you let me know. Yeah, the writing is a 10 out of 10. Even with the dated dialogue, it fits so well into the story that I got immersed. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was hanging on each page,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I and when it was over, I was like, holy shit, I need to read the next one right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
It
and like
was
at the
just
like
that
at the end
good.
of book 4, I wanted to go, "What mission are they going on?"
Right? Yeah.
Like, "Well, I gotta go find the new Defenders issue that came out directly after this because I gotta know." And now all
Angel
of a
and
sudden, right, all of a sudden now, I'm interested in what Iceman's up to. And
exactly. I want
before
to
this
read New
series,
Defenders too.
yeah, and no one cares about I mean, not really, you know what I mean? But it's like, before this series is like, yeah, Iceman's cool, I guess, but he's part of a team. He's just he's a cog in a wheel, but here he becomes something really neat
He
and
really
really
does.
cool. And it's like
And
now I wanna follow his story and, like, I wanna be like, "Oh, how is this series gonna affect further?" So, yeah, it's really cool. I
the
actually
other
do wanna go find the new Defenders issue that comes out right after this and see what's up.
the other thing I wanted to point out is I love the fact that they really cut loose with Iceman's powers. Like
Mhm.
he was using his powers
Yeah,
like
he was.
Green Lantern uses the power ring.
Yeah, he was.
He was crafting axes and
Yep,
slides
and, like,
and poles and towers.
big ol', like,
She,
I think he crafted a big fist one time.
several
Yeah,
fists.
yeah, yeah. There you go. And I was like,
Shields and
"Okay,
all
okay,
these
cool."
things. They were being really
And he had
creative.
done some of that prior to this, obviously, but they really made it prominent here.
Yeah, it was
Um,
more than just ice blasts and
yes, and
slides
shields
and
and yeah,
yeah, like he really cut loose with everything that he was doing, and I thought it was
yep.
great. So my overall for this artwork 8 out of 10, writing 10 out of 10. My overall is this very solid, well-earned 9 out of 10. That's what I give it. Wes,
I can't argue with that.
before we end this review, do you want to change your grade from 7.5?
I'll add point 0.5 because you're right. I didn't take into account a lot of the background stuff. So I'll add I'll
Right.
ma I the I still can't get over some of the people drawing though. I really can't. It's hard. You go through again, Tim, and I wanna ask if you wanna review your
That
score for art because
that's why I gave it the 8. There's so much of that background that was just too perfect. He put
okay, but
more
for
work into that.
I will give you that. I will 100% give you that, but I cannot get over some of the faces that he drew, like, on some of the main characters of the story, like Marge. I was like, "Oh."
Come
S
on.
Yeah, so there's but overall, it was pretty good. There was a few moments where you're like,
Excuse me.
"Ooh, that I could do better than that,"
Yes.
um, but I did not take into account properly probably the background stuff, so I'll give it a 6.5 instead of 6.0.
All right.
I'm gonna keep my writing at the 9.0, so I think that would
Yeah,
raise my average, what, from a 7.5 to a 7
to an
point
8. We'll put it
would
up
it be an
to
8?
an 8. Yeah.
Okay, I'll accept that. I don't think
Okay,
that math is
perfect.
correct, but yeah.
It doesn't matter. We don't get paid to do math, sir. We get paid to read.
Let's see,
Oh, Wes is going to
point
check
five
the
plus
actual rating
mm,
here. You think
yeah,
it'll put you at
7.75. So
7 point?
I'll round up to an 8. We'll call it an 8.
Perfect. There we go. Just like Bobby Drake's resolution in 4 issues.
Mm, mm.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, so I highly recommend this book. Wes, you highly
Yep.
recommend this book.
Go check it out, guys. For real.
Show
Go find
show,
it in your dollar bins.
show him the shirt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So my shirt matches
The
the freaking.
cover.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. And that was not on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. So I believe it or not. So, but yeah, great
Oh my
series, guys.
God. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Iceman number 1 through 4. Wes gives it a nice rounded 8 out of 10. I give it a 9 out of 10. Highly recommended by both of us. So go check this out. Before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget you can find us on all the socials. All you got to do is type in at the Codex Station, and that is where we will be. If you like this type of content, please make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe if you feel so desired. That definitely helps small channels like us
Yes, for
get in
sure.
touch with the YouTube algorithm, become one with it, and have our Zen moment. So that way, more content like this can be sent to other people just like you. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you love Codex so much, why don't you go ahead and check out our website, thecodexstation.com, get some merch, meet the team, and so much more. Sal did a great job making that site, and you guys need to go over there and see how awesome it is. You got a sticker. That's
Got a
amazing.
sticker.
You can get that at thecodexstation.com, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Tim the Terrible. This guy over here is Wes Rebel Scum. This has been a review of Iceman numbers 1 through 4, and we will see you next time.